Hey guys, we're going to be talking about lesson 3, and I grabbed a regular pen and was writing on my um, computer. That's lovely. Okay, so we are doing lesson 3, and this is going to be just taking things a little bit further. And this is a new concept, but I think once I explain it, it'll make a lot of sense. It's not too bad. So we're going to kind of start off with what we have been doing. So if I have a problem like this, I would subtract 5 and then divide by 4. And so I have cosine of x equals 1/4. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by the cosine inverse to get x by itself. And so I get x equals cosine inverse of 1/4. And then at that time, I would type it in my calculator. And because it's positive, I know that it's in quadrants 1 and quadrants 4. So when I type in cosine inverse of 1/4 on my calculator, I am paying attention that I need to be in radian mode. So I should get about 1.318 in quadrant 1 and 4.965 in quadrant 2. Okay, so that's nothing new. What I want to point out that I haven't done so before is this guy right here, that has always been just x. And so what that means is I'm just going one time around the unit circle. So from 0 to 2 pi, nothing new. So we're going to do problems today that are not just x. So like for instance, this one is 2x. So what this means is it goes twice around the unit circle. So think about what that says to this domain range. So I'm going to set it up, if I'm going to go twice around the unit circle, then I'm going to multiply everything through by 2. So I have 0 or 0 pi, that doesn't matter, 2x, and then 4 pi. So notice how I'm going to be looking at that range between 0 and 4 pi when I do this. So I also want you to notice, I purposely, let me kind of erase the messiness here. I purposely made this and this the same. The only difference is that 2 there. So when I simplify it, instead of saying cosine, so right here, instead of saying x equals cosine inverse of 1/4, everything is going to be the same, except now I'm not solving for x, I'm solving for 2x. So that process is going to be 100% the same. That's why I'm not repeating it. Okay, so now think about it from, instead of just 0 to 2 pi, I'm thinking about it from 0 to 4 pi. So I'm going to cheat off my last problem. So I already know in quadrant 1, I got 1.318, and then in quadrant 4, I'm going to have 4.965. Okay, that doesn't change. The only thing I'm going to do is think about like those coterminal angles. So like it's still going to be in quadrant 1, but it's going to rotate around again in quadrant 1. So I'm going to add 2 pi to that. Same thing down here. It's still going to be in quadrant 4, but I'm going to go around again so I'll add 2 pi to that as well. So when I type this in my calculator, 1.138 plus 2 pi is about 7.6013. I don't carry around. And then this is about 11.248. Okay, so I'm going to have 4 answers. But instead of this always being set equal to x, now it's equal to 2x. So 2x is, I'm just going to kind of clean this up a little bit. So 1.32, I just rounded that. 4.97, 7.60, that one. And then I'm going to call this 11.25. Okay, so I'm dividing everything now by 2 because I still want to get that x by itself. Oops. So I end up getting 0.66 let's see, 2.49. This one is going to be 3.80, and this one is going to be 5.63. Okay, so this is actually going to be my final answer. So you're not done until you do this final step to get the x by itself. So like in this case, you're just going to go up here, whatever this number is, that's what you're multiplying or dividing by, depending on what you have. So we just have to get the x by itself. Okay, so let's keep going. Same process, but notice that this time is a 3x. So the first thing that I'm going to think about doing is multiplying everything by 3. So I have 0 is less than or equal to 3x is less than 6. Oops, sorry, not 6x, 6 pi. Okay, so this is my range here. And something else I want you to notice is like this is still the same problem as this one and this one. The only thing that's changed is I'm just bumping up the middle piece. So I'm still going to cheat and go back to where the new stuff is. So this is where the new stuff begins. So now I'm doing between 0 and 6 pi. So really, I have my 4 from before, so I'm just going to take these and copy them down. So I'll do that here. Okay, guys, so I took my values up here, and make sure you're not looking at these values. I don't care about that. I'm going back to like these original values here. So this one, I added 2 pi, this one, and this one. So those are going to be what I start off here. So this was, remember, 1 time around the unit circle. This was 2 times around this unit circle. So remember, I added 2 pi to each of these to get these. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 pi to each of these to get 3 times around the circle. Okay, so I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to push pause and come back. Okay, so this was my other two once I added 2 pi to them. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this and all of this. Let me change all of this and all this and divide by everything by 3 to get the x by itself. So go ahead and do that and we'll compare answers. Okay, guys, so I divided 3 to each of these. That's all I'm doing. To get the x by itself over here, and this is my final answer for that. Okay, so we are going to start a brand new problem. This you can just cross out. We're going to start a brand new problem here. So the first thing that I want you to know is notice instead of saying like 2x, I'm saying x divided by 2. So instead of multiplying everything by 2, I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I have 0, x divided by 2, and then 150. So think about that. I'm just talking about quadrants 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and get the x over 2 by itself. So let's do that. Okay, so I went through my work here and I ended up with this. So here's the problem. I've got sine inverse of a negative value. So remember, sine is positive in quadrants 1 and 2 and negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So we are talking about quadrants 3 and 4, but I'm restricted up here by quadrants 1 and 2. So if you have a case like this and it doesn't match up, it's just no solution. So if you'll notice down here, this one, when I subtract the 1 and then divide by 5, I'm going to get a positive number. So I want you to go ahead and take this one further and see what you can do with it. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I ended up with this once I did just kind of like the algebra. And so in quadrants 1 and 2, I just wanted to make sure, like, this is just a calculator part of your problem, but make sure that you notice that that was in degrees and not radians. So in quadrant 1, x over 2 equals 23.58, and in quadrant 2, you should have gotten 156.42 degrees. Okay, so for this next part, I need to get the x by itself. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So do you see what I'm doing? My goal is just to get the x by itself. So when I multiply the 23.58 times 2, I get 46.16 degrees. And when I multiply the 156.42 times 2, I get 312.84 degrees. So this is my final answer. That finally got x by itself. And that is it, guys.